And welcome to Simple Blind Luck. I am Blind Luck, and I'll be your guide dog on our little adventure. Alrighty, today continuing becoming Blind Luck, but just to give a quick recap of the previous episode, I really went over once in the rehab center, and I had gotten to where I would try to watch TV. I had an odd thing that happened later on. Shows and movies that I watched while I was in the hospital, I had a hard time listening to afterwards. They would kind of get me down and depressed. And then after a while, I discovered it was more of not the show itself, but the intro music associated with the show. And if I skipped that part, it was fine. But I guess it just goes to show how intricately linked memories and music are with emotions in our head. Now, today I want to go over something I haven't covered too much throughout my recovery while I was in the rehab center. Because I had the stroke, I also had to do a good bit of speech therapy. You may recall from an earlier episode that I had a real hard time talking. And it was very frustrating because I knew what I wanted to say in my head. It's just when I opened my mouth, something completely different would come out. So I just figured I'd go over just a quick therapy that they had to address that, as well as a way I later adopted that and to make it into a fun game. Okay, so the big problem I had is what they called word substitution. And initially, I didn't even realize I was doing it. To my head, I said what I wanted to. But in reality, two of the words in the sentence I will have said would be completely out there. Like instead of saying, I'm going to go to the park, I might say something like, I'm going to Pitbull Puppies Park. Now, obviously, makes no sense whatsoever. It actually got worse to me as I improved, because once I started improving and recovering, I would hear it. So I might say something crazy, but I would hear it as well. And it was more frustrating than, because see, previously I was ignorant to it. I thought I said what I said, but now I knew that I hadn't. It's really an example of ignorance is bliss. Like I didn't really mind as much when I didn't know I was saying crazy things. Now, one of the big therapies I did a lot to help with this is they would sit me down and have me say, go through the alphabet, and just saying each letter kind of slowly of the alphabet. And then that kind of morphed into, okay, we're going to still go through the alphabet, but instead of saying the letter, say a word, any word you want that starts with that letter. So I might sit there and go like apple, banana, Camaro, Dodge, and just go through the alphabet that way. And I guess that really causes the cognitive parts of your brain to really have to work and struggle and slowly repair and kind of knit itself back together. But given that you're hearing me speak in regular sentences now, and I don't always say crazy off the wall things, obviously it's very effective. I still, honestly, I don't think I'm on the level that I was previously. Relatively close, but not quite as articulate as I once was. But you're never satisfied with yourself anyway. So who knows? Now, the interesting thing about this is I had later adopted part of this therapy for a game I kind of did with a lot of the kids. Like I did it with my little brother when he was a lot younger, and then I've done it with many others. And basically, it's a similar premise, just made a little trickier to where it's still, call it the alphabet game. And they have to go through the alphabet, and usually we have a couple people, but you can play it with just two. But the first person say, I normally like to do animals because kids can do that one relatively easy. And it's one person starts, they have to say an animal, starts with the letter A. And then the next person, an animal that starts with the letter B. And you just keep going around like that. And man, they really enjoy it. And it's funny, I enjoy it myself. And it's kind of funny when I look back how much it's morphed, because it's been 18 years now, and I've been kind of introducing it to and playing it with kids ever since. And as a matter of fact, just recently, I mentioned before how I help on Wednesday nights with a kid class. And one of the kids, they were outside going to play for a bit. Well, they weren't able to that day due to some stuff. So they were kind of down because they were just going to have to sit there while everyone else was playing. So I suggested this game, and they had a lot of fun playing it. And they actually came up to me afterwards, and they were very appreciative of me playing that game, so they didn't have to just sit there while everyone else had fun. So it's really neat that you can take something that was first intended as a therapy and then, just slightly alter it. And now it's something that the kids really, really enjoy. And it seems to span a decent age group, like from maybe 5, 6, all the way up to, probably 11, 12. But I just wanted to include that little bit of the speech therapy I did have to go through to learn to talk again. But that's going to wrap it up for today. But for today's On the Bright Side is, yeah, I'm blind. But on the bright side, there is no telling how many trees I have saved because I don't really write with a paper and pencil anymore. And with that, I will hear you later.